What's going on, y'all? My name is Fred Johnson, coming back at you today with some more teacher tips, sharing from my 11 years of teaching experience in the public school classroom, some of the wisdom and some of the things I picked up along the way. Today, I'm going to go over day 2 of the school year. So you're starting a new school year, went over day 1 in the last video. Today, I'm going over day 2. The activity today I got from my boy Matt Coleman back in 2009. Matt, if you're watching, thank you. And then I later learned it at a conference called Capturing Kids' Hearts, which I highly recommend if you ever get the chance to go. It's called The Name Game. And I tell my students on the first day, and really every day the first week, my goal is to learn everybody's name by the end of day 3. This activity helps with that. And then I don't want to teach you anything academic until I know your name and I know a little bit about you, until you know my name and a little bit about me. And some people argue that, like, no, we're going to start with academics day 1. That first week is valuable academic time. And I would counter argue, if you have 36 weeks in a school year, however many you have, and you invest that first week in building the relationship with your students, showing them that you care and building your trust, you will have higher engagement those next 35 weeks that will far outweigh that 1 week you lost academically. So here's how it works: the name game. What I do is, before the students come in on day 2, and I've done this with 12 years worth of students, 11, I had 11 and a half. I did this with 11 school years worth of students, and it was one of my favorite activities every year. And I would walk away from this activity knowing almost every student's name. So what you do is, before the students come in, put all the chairs or desks or whatever you have in a big circle in the room based on how many students you have. And when the students come in on day 2, again, I hold them at the door like I did 1, and take their attendance and check them off and ask them some questions. And then they come in and they see the chairs in our circle, and I tell them, hey, sit in one of the chairs in the circle. And then when everybody gets in, I pull up a chair somewhere in the circle and ask students, hey, you mind if I sit here? Cool. I sit down with the students, and I explain, hey, we're going to play the name game today. My goal is to learn everybody's name by the end of the day. And here's how it works. Everybody's going to take their first letter of their first name, and they're going to find an adjective that starts with that same letter, that alliterates with that letter. For example, the name Carl starts with a C. So a student would find an adjective that starts with the letter C, like cool Carl, or careful Carl, something like that. What I tell the students is the adjective must be both positive and appropriate. So it can be academic Alan, or ambitious Aaron. These are appropriate. And then I give them some non-examples, and I tell them, okay, you can't be sexy Sarah, you can't be murderous Mike, you can't be lazy Leonard. And sometimes I even ask them if they'll give me a non-example, just so I know they're tracking with me. And then when we're ready to start, I say, okay, I'm going to start. My name's Mr. Johnson, starts with an M. I need an adjective that's positive and appropriate that starts with an M. Okay, marvelous. My name is Marvelous Mr. Johnson. Okay, magnificent. My name is Magnificent Mr. Johnson. Nice to meet you all. Cool. And I turn to the next student and I say, you want to go first? And usually they're like, no. I'm like, cool. All right, no problem. You're going to regret that. And then I come over here and I say, you want to go first? Or I just tell them, okay, you're going. And then I'll say, what's your name? And I always play it out step by step. So I say, what's your name? The student says, my name's Charles. I'm like, cool, Charles, nice to meet you. What's that start with? And they say, C. I'm like, okay. Do you have an adjective that starts with a C? And sometimes, boom, they're right there ready to go. Sometimes they need help, or you say, do you need help? Either one's fine. And so the student says, okay, I'm cool Charles. Or you can use the letters like ch, so you can say, I'm chill Charles. So a kid says, my name's Chill Charles. I'm like, cool, Chill Charles, nice to meet you. And then I'll say, what's my name? He'll say, you're Magnificent Mr. Johnson. Cool, all right, nice to meet you, awesome. Who's next? What's your name? And they say, Sarah. I'm like, cool, Sarah, nice to meet you. What's that start with? Sometimes she'll have that adjective already ready. Sometimes I need to walk her through the process again. Either way, it's fine. And so if she has one, great. If she doesn't, we'll say, hey, can anybody help her out? And it's always wise to have some adjectives ready, maybe written down or just in your mind, especially if you have 5, 10 kids with the same letter for their first name, you might start running out. Or some letters like Z that are a little bit hard to find. So anyway, she might say something like, okay, I'm Super Sarah. Cool, Super Sarah, nice to meet you. And then I have them go around and go over every student before them. So now this kid's feeling it like, oh, I'm going to have to do this 20 times. Should have gone first. So then she says, I'm Super Sarah. And I'm like, who's that? That's Chill Charles. And who am I? You're Magnificent Mr. Johnson. And now I've heard those names already. Each time I get to repeat and repeat and repeat. Then the next student goes and the next student. I walk each student through the process. Again, some are ready, some need some assistance. I usually ask the students to help first before I jump in. And they'll police each other on the, hey, that's not appropriate, or it's got to be positive. And then you can guide that process. And it gets really hard, but keep it engaging. And that's why it's hard with more than 20 students, because it's only one student going at a time. But I really try and incentivize them. I'll have a prize box. And so by the time we get around to that last kid, and I allow them to help each other if they really get stumped, because the goal is not for perfection on this. It's just a practice. Get to that last student, and sometimes they crush it. Sometimes they need help. That's fine. The whole goal was they're learning each other's names. I'm learning their names with the adjective, which helps a ton. We get back to me and I'm like, all right, let me see if I can do this. And then usually I can get it because I've been repeating it with the students the whole time. And then I say, do I have any volunteers that think they can do it? And I got my prize box filled with whatever prizes I've gathered. And I say, all right, winner gets a prize. And then I got volunteers because they all want the prize. And so I have 3 or 4 kids go. Sometimes they mess up, and I make them sit down, or some will get it and they get a prize. And so we'll do that 3 or 4 times. And then I say, all right, everybody get up and switch seats, because some just memorize the order. And then I have them, and they're like, oh. And then 3 or 4 more kids go, try and go for a prize. Usually that's the class by then. But it's fun, it's engaging, and we walk out of there. The rest of the day, if I see them in the hallway, I'm like, hey, Super Sarah, what's up? Years later, still remember kids by their names. They're calling each other by those names in the hallway. It's silly. Some make fun of it. That's fine. But I remember I taught middle school for 3 years, and it was the 3rd year, and I had some 8th graders I saw in the hallway that I'd had in 6th grade. And I remember they challenged me, and I was like, all right, hey, let's see, Zesty, Zachariah, Terrific, Tyra, and I got all of their names, and they were pumped. And so it was just a fun way to get to know kids, to have them think of something positive about themselves, and to learn everybody's name. If we don't finish that day, I continue it the next day. Might seem ridiculous to do it for 2 days, but it's worth it. And even if we do finish on that day, day 3, that's the first activity. Who remembers everybody's name from yesterday? And I have 2 or 3 kids try again for a prize. And then I try even revisit it a week, 2 weeks later. Hey, does anybody remember everybody's name? And it can be something to fill in if you got a couple extra minutes, or to challenge students for a prize. I generally would walk away, sometimes even if I had 200 students that I would see in a day, walk away after day 2 knowing about 80% of my students' names. Highly encourage you to try it. I was skeptical at first, but I got super into it. My students got into it, and you've got to be about it to make it work. You got to be enthusiastic, but try it. I think you'll find it fun, and let me know how it goes. Thanks for listening.